In the red-soiled village of Umuaku, nestled beside the whispering pines of Ngwo forest, lived a woman whose beauty could silence a gathering. Her name was Adaora Ezeano, graceful, soft-spoken, and as radiant as the morning sun brushing the Milken Hills. Yet behind her calm eyes lived a silent ache that no one saw but her husband, Chidi, the village blacksmith who loved her more than the breath in his lungs. For 5 years, their compound had echoed only with the crackle of cooking fires and not the laughter of children. In Umuaku, motherhood was more than joy. It was survival, status, the proof of a woman's worth. And without it, Adaora became the center of whispers. At the Ogbete mini-market, women gathered to trade yam, spices, and scorn. Nekambakwe, loud and proud with 6 children tied to her back and skirts, would smirk as Adaora passed. Ada, with the flawless face but empty hands, she'd sneer, "Fine beauty, no baby." Even her mother-in-law, Mama Chidi, once warm, had turned sharp. 5 years, Ada. 5, no child, no heir. My son deserves more. Chidi would pull Adaora close each night, murmuring, "You are more than enough." But even his words couldn't quiet the sting of isolation. Every child's cry, every playful giggle that danced through the village air, reminded her of what her womb had not yet held. And so, Adaora walked tall but hollow, her silence becoming her shield. Behind her compound, in the hush of her garden, she often sat alone, hoping the gods, the earth, or even the wind would hear the one prayer she never dared to speak aloud. The rains came late that year, and with them came more biting words. One afternoon, after another fruitless visit from Mama Chidi, her eyes sharp, her voice louder than thunder, Adaora broke. "You think love feeds a lineage?" Mama Chidi hissed. "I need grandchildren before my bones return to dust." Adaora said nothing. She only bowed her head and let the silence carry her pain. But that evening, when Chidi was away fixing a neighbor's roof, Adaora wrapped her wrapper tight, stepped out of their compound, and walked, past the mud huts, past Neka's curious glance, past the edge of Umuaku. She didn't know where her feet were leading her, only that the village behind her had become too heavy. The forest path welcomed her in shadows and bird calls. The red dust clung to her feet as she pushed deeper into the Ngwo pine forest, its trees standing like silent judges. By twilight, she reached a place no one dared speak of, a kuna grove. The elders called it cursed. Children were warned never to wander near the ancient UDU tree, said to house forgotten spirits. But Adaora was beyond fear. Beneath the great tree's twisting roots, she knelt, pressing her palms into the earth. "Oh, spirits," she whispered, her voice trembling, "if you dwell here, if you are real, I have nothing left to lose. I beg you, bless me. Give me a child. Let me be seen. Let me be whole." Her tears soaked into the earth, swallowed by silence. The wind shifted. The leaves above rustled like whispers. Adaora closed her eyes, her heart pounding. Then, a voice. "Adaora," it said. Not loud, not soft. Just knowing. She opened her eyes. An old woman stood behind her, wrapped in flowing white, her silver hair glowing under the moonlight. The woman's eyes shimmered like moonlit water. Her skin bore lines of age and mystery, and her white robe barely stirred, though the wind danced through the trees. Adaora's breath caught. Who are you?" she stammered, wiping her tears. "I am Dibia Nwanyoma," the woman replied, her voice like rustling leaves. "Servant of the tree, keeper of secrets. You called, child of earth. I heard. Adaora's heart thudded. Her lips trembled. I am barren, mocked, cast aside. I have done all I know. Prayers, sacrifices, but nothing has come. I would give anything, for a child of my own. The Dibia looked at her with eyes that seemed to see beyond time. You speak with sorrow, but also with strength. The gods measure both. She turned and pointed toward a narrow, overgrown path, lit only by the silver glow of fireflies. Walk that path. At its end stands the tree of echoes, ancient even before your ancestors knew earth from sky. Its branches touch the heavens, its roots sip secrets from the deep. Adaora stared at the path, thick with shadows. What must I do? Pluck one leaf from its heart, only one. Return it to me without delay. But be warned, this path is not for the faint-hearted. Adaora didn't hesitate. She bowed quickly. I will go. She stepped into the thicket. The air grew heavy with scent, wild herbs, moss, and something older. Strange bird calls echoed. The forest seemed alive, watching. Finally, in a clearing bathed in moonlight, she saw it. The tree of echoes, massive, glowing faintly, its leaves shimmering like stardust. She climbed its twisted root, reached out, and gently plucked a single glowing leaf. The moment she touched it, a voice whispered through the air, "Beware, the gift comes with a price." Adaora returned to Akuna Grove, clutching the glowing leaf. Dibia Nwanioma stood waiting, her eyes fixed on the woman who had dared the forest. "You have done well," she said, taking the leaf gently. "Now listen, child. When you return home, bury this leaf in your garden, deep, where only your hope can reach it. Water it daily. Speak to it with love. What grows will not be a tree, but a doorway." Adaora nodded. "And then, a child?" "In time. But remember, no gift from the spirit world comes without a test." The wind rustled again, and before Adaora could ask more, the Dibia vanished, like fog in morning sun. Adaora returned to Umuaku before sunrise, her wrapper dusty, her heart pulsing with fragile hope. She dug a small hole behind her hut, pressed the leaf into the earth, and whispered a prayer. Days passed, then weeks. The women continued to gossip, especially Neka. What's she growing now? Spells and nonsense? Mama Chidi sniffed loudly. Fertile soil can't help a cursed womb. But Adaora didn't flinch. Each morning she tended the spot, pouring water and words into the earth. Then one morning, a tiny sprout emerged, twisting, strange, almost glowing. That night, the dreams began. She saw a child, a boy, his eyes bright like lightning behind the clouds. He laughed, arms outstretched, calling her name, "Mama." But every time she reached for him, he vanished into mist. And still the plant grew, its leaves spiraling like ancient cymbals, its stalk humming faintly at dusk. The village whispered louder. "Witchcraft," some said. "Madness," said others. And Adaora said nothing. Deep in her soul, she knew, this plant was not of this world, but it held the promise her heart had longed for. By the third moon, the strange plant had outgrown Adaora's garden. Its stem thickened like a twisted rope, and its leaves shimmered gold at twilight. Even the birds stopped to perch near it, silent, watchful. Then one evening, as Adaora whispered to it, a soft golden glow pulsed through the stalk. From its tip, a fruit began to form, round, small, shaped like a miniature calabash. Its surface gleamed like fire under oil, and its scent was like ripe mangoes and morning rain. Adaora gasped. Her hands trembled as she plucked it. The moment she did, a gust of wind swept through the garden. then silence. That night, the old woman appeared again in her dreams. Dibia Nwanyoma stood in a clearing bathed in moonlight, her face unreadable. "You have done well," she said. "But now, you must choose." Adaora held the fruit in her hands, its glow reflecting in her dream eyes. "What must I do?" "Eat it, at dawn. But know this, the child it brings will not be like others. He will carry the mark of the Spirit. His path will not belong only to you." Adaora's throat tightened. "What does that mean?" "He will be loved, but he will also be called. You must raise him with strength, for the world will not understand him." "Will I lose him?" "In time, every mother lets go, but your love will shape his soul. That is your power." Adaora awoke with a start. The golden fruit lay on her clay table, glowing softly in the morning light. Her heart pounded. Doubt tugged at her chest. But then she remembered the laughter of the market women, the cold stare of Mama Chidi, the ache in her arms at night where a child never lay. With a deep breath, she whispered a prayer to the ancestors and ate the fruit. The fruit tasted unlike anything Adaora had ever known, sweet yet earthy, with a warmth that spread through her chest like firelight. That same night, she dreamed again of the child with lightning eyes, this time reaching for her hand. When she woke, her body felt changed, lighter, yet full. Weeks passed, then months. One morning, as she prepared okpa by the hearth, she felt dizzy and dropped the bowl. Her hands flew to her belly. Life stirred within. Adaora gasped, tears filling her eyes. She was with child. Chidi lifted her in disbelief when she told him, spinning her until they both collapsed, laughing. Even Mama Chidi, who had grown bitter with waiting, stood in silence before finally whispering, "The gods have remembered us." Umuaku buzzed with rumors. Some said she had visited the Dibia, others claimed she'd found a lost shrine, but none dared speak too loud, not with the glow on her skin and the strange way birds perched near her door. When the time came, labor was long and fierce. Thunder cracked over the Milken Hills as Adaora cried out in pain, but just before dawn, the cries of a newborn filled the air, strong, clear, powerful. He was named Somadina, meaning, "May I not be alone." His skin gleamed like polished bronze, and his eyes held a light that unsettled even the boldest elder. As a baby, he barely cried. Instead he watched the sky, the trees, the firelight, as though learning secrets no one else could hear. One day, when he was just 6 moons old, Adaora carried him through the village when a sudden wind rose, wild and fierce. People scrambled to hold their roofs, but Somadina simply giggled, stretched out his chubby arms, and the wind stopped. Silence fell. From that day, they whispered a new name for him, Nwamuo, child of the spirit. Somadina grew like the palm in rainy season, tall, graceful, and quietly powerful. By the time he could walk, flowers bloomed wherever his feet touched the soil. Birds gathered near him. Even goats and wild monkeys from the forest approached without fear. Adaora watched him with pride and awe, and growing worry. Each night, her dreams returned. The same vision, Soma laughing and fading into mist. Behind him stood Dibia Nwanyoma, silent, her white wrapper billowing like smoke. On his 5th birthday, Adaora could no longer ignore the call in her spirit. She dressed in a white blouse and wrapper, tied her scarf tightly, and took Somadina by the hand. Together, they returned to Akuna Grove. The forest had not changed, but Adaora had. She no longer trembled. At the base of the ancient UDU tree, she knelt, her son beside her, and called into the wind. "Spirit of the tree, I have returned. Tell me, what lies ahead for my son?" The breeze paused, leaves held their breath. Then, as before, the Dibia stepped from shadow to moonlight, her eyes heavy with truth. "You have raised him well, Adaora. He is loved. But the child born of spirit cannot remain untouched by destiny." Adaora swallowed hard. "Must he leave me? When the time comes, he will choose his path. You cannot hold him back. His gift belongs to the world." Tears welled in her eyes. "But I am his mother, and always will be. But love is not a chain. It is a seed. Let it grow." Somadina looked up, eyes glowing faintly. He seemed to understand, even then. The Dibia faded into the forest mist once more, leaving Adaora staring into the roots of the tree, where her story had begun, and where, perhaps, it would someday end. The seasons turned like pages in a sacred book, and Somadina became a young man of 18, tall, thoughtful, and calm as still water. His presence had changed Umuaku. Where once there was gossip, there was now reverence. Sick villagers came to him with fevers and wounds. He touched them gently, and healing followed like morning sun after rain. But Adaora never forgot the Dibia's words. Every smile from her son, every quiet moment beneath the moon, felt like a gift she was slowly learning to release. One morning, as she stirred yam porridge in the clay pot, Somadina stepped into the hut, his eyes distant, his face serene. "Mama," he said softly, "it is time." Her hand froze mid-stir. "You know where I must go," he added. Adaora nodded slowly, heart cracking silently. "The tree," she whispered. "Yes," he replied. "They've been calling in my dreams. I must return to the UDU tree, to serve those who shaped me." She reached out and cupped his face. "Will I see you again?" "I don't know," he said truthfully, "but I will always be with you. You planted me in love, Mama. That cannot be undone." That evening, as the sun melted into the red hills, the villagers gathered silently. They didn't stop him. They only watched as he walked, barefoot, unafraid, toward the path leading to Akuna Grove. Adaora stood at the edge of her compound, arms wrapped around herself, tears streaming but her spine straight. She had given birth to more than a child. She had birthed a story. From that day, they told tales of Adaora, the woman who wept beneath the spirit tree, and of Somadina, the child who bloomed from a leaf and walked between two worlds. And in her garden, beneath the now tall tree that once sprouted from hope, Adaora found peace.